Today, I'm going to introduce you to my 1980 Austin Mini. It's a right-hand drive with a 1098cc A-Series motor. Let's just call it a maiden 1100cc, making a whopping 48 horsepower. The car was built, or at least assembled, in New Zealand and imported a few years ago into the States. In keeping with my nerdy themes, this is R2D2. I probably went the most overboard on this build as far as the nerdiness goes. However, for the purists, it's all reversible and all within the Mini spirit. So again, piss off if you don't like it. I've owned this car for a few years, so I'm going to get you up to speed on everything that's been done. The car was pretty much a mess when I bought it. There were a lot of missing odds and ends. The bumpers were rusty. There were very wrong Nissan 350Z seats in it. The motor was a big leaky mess. I really did like the gunmetal gray, and the paint was in decent shape, but I didn't like the Cobra stripes. It just felt wrong for a Mini. The dash was a mess. Not a single gauge worked right, and there were even 2 oil pressure gauges. I don't even know why. Somebody must have just cut an extra hole and didn't know how to fill it. So step 1 was to get it running. That actually wasn't too hard. A little carb adjustment, a new battery, some clean gas, reset the timing, and we also replaced the radiator and some hoses. Step 2. We painted it in an infinity white pearl. Then we replicated the classic Mini bonnet stripes in a deep metallic blue and topped off the dome with a Mercedes silver. I left the gunmetal on the wheels because it worked with the overall color scheme. And then on to ordering new parts. Direct from England, I ordered new stainless bumpers, a bunch of trim parts, including but not limited to door seals, carpets, new indicator switch, new wiper motor arms, door handle kit, new windscreen seals, new rear window seals, new pinch weld trim, wheel arches, 3 different Mini emblems, license plate light, the list goes on. Then, to add some R2D2 fun, but keep with the classic livery, I added a custom Rebel Alliance symbol with a subtle R2D2. From a distance, it just looks like a number 22. I added LED projector beams all around and a single rally headlight to act as R2's eye. And as part of the electrical upgrade, I added relays and new fuses to all of the headlights. I also took the factory Mini emblems and embedded a metal Rebel symbol in resin. Now for the interior, it's been quite a journey. First, I cleaned and Pour-15'd the floors to seal them properly against any rust. Then I applied a layer of Rattle Trap, which is a product similar to Dynamat, to stop vibration and begin to deal with the heat transfer. I was able to source some somewhat period correct OG Mini seats. They are uncomfortable as hell, but they look much better than the Nissan seats in the little car. We'll deal with the upholstery of those in the next video. The original owner also told me where to find the back seat for the car. Apparently he dropped it off at an upholstery shop and it just sat there for years. So when I picked that up from the upholstery shop, it was a gross tan color. I used some vinyl paint to paint it black, for now. Then I got an itty bitty metallic 13-inch Mooneye steering wheel. There's not a lot of car to turn, and the ridiculous 16-inch wheel was not needed. I could barely get my legs under it. It was a bitch to find an adapter, but I ended up finding a very old, new old stock Grant adapter. There was already an aftermarket fiberglass dash in the car, and the old dashboard rails were cut to shit, so I stuck with that. All the switches and the gauges were pretty cobbled together. I'm going to clean this up a bunch and add some speakers and a new radio and get on to the customizing. Oh, did I mention there was an extra oil pressure gauge? First, I cut a couple of round MDF rings to hold the Pioneer 4-inch speakers. I don't have a router right now, so just a jigsaw and a sander to round over the edges. I pull the dash out of the car and screw the MDF to the bottom edge of it. Then I stretch a piece of cotton t-shirt material over the MDF, stapling it on the backside. This will leave me with a smooth contour in which to lay the resin into. I build it up with a few layers of fiberglass mat and then cut out the speaker holes. Then, many hours of sanding the fiberglass later, we test fit it back in the car. I cut out the entire gauge cluster and switch plate areas because I'm going to use a piece of ABS plastic on top of this to create bezels to fill these back in. I decided I'm going to upholster the dash in vinyl, so I run a stitch seam horizontally across the vinyl fabric to allow it to bend around the bump in the dash. Then I use 3M contact adhesive to stretch the fabric around the dash's contours. All these ripples will be worked out with a heat gun and some stretching. You can see the areas where the vinyl will be cut away. I then cut the ABS plastic inlays for the gauges and switches, trim the vinyl for the speakers and the fresh air vents, and then temporarily attach the speakers and the switch panel with finish washers and ring. Now on to the thing I've been dreading. How this car has not caught fire yet is beyond me. There's no less than 10 exposed wires going God knows where, just stuffed underneath the dash. If I put my hand in there, stuff just shuts off or turns on. Sometimes the wires are just loosely wrapped around contact points. There are multiple ground wires tied to other random ground wires using masking tape and hope. It's a rat's nest under there. Of all the gauges that are in the car, the tack is the one that's physically not functioning, so I'll replace it eventually. In the meantime, I cut openings for the radio and all the gauges out of the ABS. I painted in the same metallic blue color as the stripes on the car, and as with my 50 Buick, I disassembled each gauge and cleaned all the glass and the gunk out of them, and then reassembled them. I start mounting the correct gauges into the ABS bezels. As I do that, I run new grounds to each of the gauges, and they get mounted into the fiberglass dash. I also start cutting and wiring a little surprise R2D2 feature into the glove box area. I cut some holes in the center and wire 3 LEDs into the dash bar rail. This will house the headlight indicator and the turn signal indicators. They are super bright LEDs, and since the Mini doesn't have an auto turn signal cancel feature, this will definitely let you know if you've left your blinker on. Here's the schematic that I drew up for the switch panel wiring. I proceed to make a million jumper wires and power all the switches up. Now, everything is installed in the dash and ready to go back in the car. I clean up the rest of the wires in the dash. Here are the switches in action. The one labeled whip light turns on the headlights, and the dark side light turns on the rally light. I'll explain the switch labeled zombie light and blow me later. Last but not least, the shocker and the last switch turn on the voltmeter and my special R2D2 surprise. In the glove box are the electronics that I use in my full-size R2 to light up his dome. They are called the PSI and Logic display lights, and they animate exactly like R2 does in the movies. Here it is at night. Sometimes I just stream R2D2 squeaks through my phone while I'm driving. Okay, that's it for this week. I have a few more progress videos on the Mini, and then hopefully we'll be back onto one of the Buicks or the Z. See you next time. Please like and subscribe, and leave a comment about how ridiculous that dash is.